Hi, welcome back to one of the final videos of 2019, if not the final video. I just honestly can't believe that this year is wrapping up, this decade is wrapping up, and I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about sort of reflecting on the past year and setting resolutions and planning ahead, because I love all of those things. I know some people feel like resolutions are just kind of meaningless because January 1st is really an arbitrary date, just like any other day. But I like to think that any excuse to plan ahead and set goals and think about who you want to be in the future is a good thing. So I love resolutions personally. I always set them for myself every year. And I also always take this time to kind of look back on where I've been and what I've achieved and what I've fallen short on, and just sort of like, it's a good time to take a life assessment, I guess. I heard a quote that said, between Christmas and New Year's is a reflecting pool. And I just think that that is so true. I think about that every single year at this time of year, like that 1 week in between the two holidays. Work is usually kind of slow, I feel like, and the world is just kind of different. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but it does feel like a reflecting pool. It does feel like a time to look back and look forward at the same time. So that's what I kind of wanted to do in this video and encourage you to do it as well. So at the end, I'll talk a little bit about some tips for your own reflecting pool time. But first, I thought I would share some things that I tried this past year that either worked or didn't work for me. And maybe that can kind of give you some ideas for your own New Year's resolutions, or just answer some questions that I've been getting this year and talk about that. So one of the biggest things that I did in 2019 was really make over my mornings. I really committed to following the Miracle Morning routine. I have a video on what that is. It's a book, and it's a morning routine that has 6 steps in it. It's kind of intense. So I have a video on that. I have a video about my morning routine. I can link those if you want to take a look. But overall, that was just like such a win for me. It really converted me to a morning person, which I never thought I'd be able to say that. And I genuinely go to sleep each night excited to wake up the next morning. Like, I can't wait to make my coffee. I can't wait to sit down and do my morning routine. So for me, that's been huge. I think having a reason to be excited to get out of bed each day is something I would wish for every single person. So check out that morning routine if you're interested in making over your mornings. It really changed a lot for me. I will say, if you don't have time for all 6 of the steps, the thing that really meant the most to me this year was journaling. Look at this. I filled out all of these journals in 2019. I can't even believe it. This is just from journaling every single morning. It's the first thing I do when I wake up after I have my coffee. And just, wow, getting all of these thoughts out onto paper, like, I'm not being dramatic, it was life-changing for me this year. So I'm a writer by trade, and that might be why I kind of gravitate towards the journaling step more than others. There's other steps that might speak to you more, like meditating and reading and other good things like that. But I just have to say, wow, like, this is the habit that I'm most going to take forward with me into the future forever. Like, when I wake up, I crave putting a pen to paper. Sometimes you don't even know what you think until, this is another quote, how do I know what I think until I see what I say? And I just find that to be so true. Like, you know, you wake up and you're groggy and you kind of have the mental residue and the baggage of yesterday and whatever dreams you might have had and whatever you're feeling about the day ahead. Getting it out onto paper has been so cathartic for me. So this was my journal of choice last year. It's a really pretty spiral bound, pale pink with like gold rim. I really prefer a journal like this where you can flip it all the way open. So that makes it easier for me to write on the fronts and the backs of the pages. I also like that this one has the dates at the top. So every morning I would circle the month and the day, and that just, silly little thing, but it kind of centered me in like, okay, this is today. This is the day in my life that I'll never get back. And putting the date at the top, just, it's like a little ritual. And then it has a subject line, so I would write what day of the week it was and what time it was, and then just pour my heart out. Another thing I did was every single day, I filled out what happened that day in this little 5-year journal. So this journal has a spot for 5 different years on this day. So by the time it's done, I can see what happened on December 30th in 2019, 2020, etc. And it's just kind of a fun way to look back on what happened on this day in previous years and see how your life kind of changes over the years. So this was my first year using this and I was really loving it. If you aren't a journaler, this might be a really good place for you to start because as you see, there's not a lot of lines to fill in. It's like 4 or 5 lines per day. Not a huge commitment, and you can just literally write down what happened that day. And it might be really cool to look back in a few years and be like, oh my gosh, I remember when I lived there, or I worked at that place, or whatever it might be. So this is something I also really committed to. I didn't miss a single day. They're all in here. I can tell you what happened on any day of this year, and I think that's really cool. So I can link both of these journals below. They're just from Amazon. If you're looking for something to start a journaling habit, this is going to be my journal for next year. I thought it might be like a fun, mental, fresh start if I switched to using something like visually a little bit different. They're actually both from the same line, Standard Issue Supplies. I really like their journals. And this one's just like a slightly different shade of pink, you know, it still had to be pink. And I like that it has this pin loop. So that's kind of cool. I can keep my pen in here for journaling in the morning. Another thing I like about both of these is they have a space to write on the front. So I was writing the dates that I filled in the journal. Like this one I started November 29th. So it's not quite full because it hasn't even really been a month. But here, this has a place where you can write the dates on it. So if you're like me and you fill up more than one journal throughout the year, you can put the date span and quickly see what days you covered in that journal. Another thing is I don't like a journal that has like 1 page per day. This one's fine because it's like you're just doing a quick synopsis, but I like to just let my mind roam in the morning and just see what comes out. Sometimes it's really simple, like, hi, I slept well, here's what I'm gonna do today, here's what I did yesterday. Sometimes it's like a 10-page essay on how much I love my dogs. Like, you just never know what you need to get out. So I like this better than a journal that's pre-printed like January 1st, January 2nd, just in case I want more space or I don't want to feel like I have to fill out a certain amount of space. So that's the journal I will be using next year. Okay, another area of my life that I tried to really focus on last year was health. And I've said before, I feel like health should be honestly all of our top priority, just because without your health, you don't have anything. And if you've ever had a health crisis, then you know what I mean. It's all consuming, or if someone in your life has had a health crisis, everything else falls to the wayside. And the absolute most important thing is dealing with that. And I just feel really strongly about trying to preserve our health. I'm not saying you can never have a treat. Obviously, I love to have treats here and there, and you don't have to live like a monk or something, but I do try to prioritize health. And this past year, I really did try to focus on that. I think probably the biggest thing that I started doing was really committing to my running. I've always been a very casual runner. I've always liked the idea of running, but this past year I set a goal to run a half marathon, which is 13.1 miles. I'm gonna tell you right now, I fell short of that goal and I'm really sad about that. But I am still celebrating the fact that I did become, I don't know, I like to think kind of a hardcore runner, because I went from not even being able to run a whole mile to running 7 miles was the farthest that I did in one chunk. So I'm really proud of that. I wish I had set my goal a little bit lower. So I guess I'm sharing this as words of advice. If you do want to become a runner, for instance, you don't have to jump in with a half marathon goal. I don't really know what I was thinking. Honestly, I wasn't thinking. I just knew it sounded cool. I'm really impressed by people who've done half marathons and longer distances. And I was like, that is, you know, like, you're definitely a runner if you can do that. Well, the thing is, you're definitely a runner if you run every day, if you do a 5K, which is 3 miles, if you do a 10K, which is 6 miles. I wish I hadn't made such a huge goal. So take that as you will. I was kind of setting the goal thinking, I love running. I'm happy to run every day. I wasn't really thinking to become a half marathon or a marathon runner. It's not just running every day. It's more so running for hours at a time. Like, not just 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 3.5 hours. If you're slow like me, maybe 4 hours. More if you're doing a marathon. Like, that's an intense goal. Like, that's a true athletic goal. So looking back on it, I wish I had set my sights on a 10K, which is 6.2 miles, because I did achieve that and I am really proud of that. That's something I've never done before. But once I hit about the 7-mile mark in my training, my knee started to click audibly with every step. It still clicks. Even when I'm just walking around the house, it clicks. It's embarrassing. Like, I'll be shopping at Target and someone will look over because they hear my knee clicking and they think they're gonna see like a 96-year-old woman and they see me. So I'm not saying anything bad about running or that it's dangerous. It really isn't. Check with your doctor before you start running. I just have a history of knee problems, and even though I did talk to my doctor before I started training and I had the clearance and I took it so slow and easy, I'm serious, very gentle. Apparently I still push my limits a little bit too much because I've got a clicking issue now. So it's been a huge bummer that I was kind of grounded from running. I have a half marathon in February that I signed up for that my heart and soul was in because it's in Walt Disney World. It's like a bucket list thing for me. And I don't know what's gonna happen with that. For now, my physical therapist and my doctor have told me not to be running until the new year, and then we can like reassess. But my knee is still clicking, so I don't think they're gonna be too happy with me continuing to run. And I don't know what's gonna happen with that. So I guess I'm sharing all this, well, A, just to update you guys, because I know you were kind of curious about that, but B, as a cautionary tale, when you do set your goals, maybe don't be quite as dramatic as me. Like, I had run a 5K before. I don't know why I felt the need to jump to a half marathon. I could have just jumped to the next level up, which would have been a 10K. So when you're setting your goals, you might want to make them slightly more realistic than I did. And I wish I had really thought about what would go into it as far as just hours and hours and hours of running. Like, with any goal, it's just, am I willing to commit thousands of hours this year to it? And if the answer is yes, then by all means, like, I want you guys to go for it. That's so awesome. And if you have any hesitation, then maybe look for the kind of thing that does make you say a resounding yes, instead of like, I don't know if I want to run for 3 hours straight. I don't know if I want to run if it's going to make my knee start clicking. So just a little bit of a dose of reality, I guess, with that goal. I am really proud of my running progress. I do feel like running actually overall helped strengthen my knees. I just think a 10K probably would have been the perfect stopping point for me personally. But those medals you see hanging on the door, I did earn those this year, and I am really proud that I've become a runner, even if I am a clicky runner now. And I don't know where my running journey will go in 2020. It might become a walking journey, but I'm just happy that I had that experience. And I will link the training programs that I followed down below if you do want to get started with running. You know, a 5K would be an awesome goal. It's only 3.1 miles. It's really, really doable. So I will link some programs that are free that I followed that I really liked. And the other side of the health stuff is that I stuck to my healthy eating plan. So every season I follow a Trader Joe's healthy eating menu plan from AAY Nutrition. I've talked about it before. I love it. I love them. They're so like organized. The food's delicious. It's easy to meal prep. I'm very committed. Like, every season I sign up and I love it. So I did that this year, and I also just, like I said, have focused on exercising more and trying to make healthy choices overall. Still had plenty of indulgences, especially over the Christmas the last few days, but overall just prioritizing health. And I am really proud that I was able to shed a few unwanted pounds. I really don't believe in like focusing on weight overall. Like, as long as I'm in the healthy window of weights for my height, then I'm happy, and I don't like to put too much pressure on the numbers because it just kind of freaks me out. If you saw my mindset video, then you know I use this finger trap as an analogy. And when I focus on like the scale and numbers and like all that stuff, it just kind of stresses me out and I get stuck in that like negative energy. So I more so like to focus on how I feel, how my body feels, and I feel so much better than I did even just last year, like just having more energy. Okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about was also a pretty huge change for me in 2019, also ties into health, and that was not drinking. I kind of didn't see this one coming. I didn't set it out as a goal for myself last year, but my husband Nate and I had talked about doing dry January, which is where you don't drink for the month of January. And we thought that sounds like a good chance to take a break. We weren't like heavy drinkers or problem drinkers, but I was in the habit of having like a glass of wine most nights with dinner. My husband liked to have a bourbon here and there. Anytime we went out with friends, we would drink. It just kind of was like normal. And so we were like, yeah, it might be good to take a break, because honestly, I feel like once you turn 21, if you're a drinker, you just drink whenever there's an opportunity, and it's like kind of rare to take a step back. So we thought that'd be good, save some money, do dry January with other people. But we messed up and forgot about it until mid-January. That's when we started. So by the end of January, we're like, well, let's just keep going since we didn't do the first couple weeks. Then by mid-February, we'd been a month, we were feeling really good. We were like, let's just keep going a little bit longer. Then after like a few months, we're like, let's just make it dry 2019. So that's what we wound up doing. Didn't have a drink all year except for the first couple weeks when we forgot. And it wound up being really awesome. It felt so good to take a break. I didn't realize how much even just like one glass of wine could give me a headache, could give me a bad night of sleep, can make me feel kind of meh the next morning. And I think it's no coincidence that I was able to become a morning person and have this great morning routine when in the absence of alcohol. So the way that we decided to do it was we followed the alcohol experiment. It's a free thing where you get like an email, I think every day for 30 days. And it's very much like a no pressure experiment just to see how you feel without alcohol. If you have kind of a feeling that maybe alcohol is not serving you, or it's just not like your relationship with alcohol hasn't been that healthy or anything like that, I really recommend it. It was very eye-opening, and I'm not here to preach for or against alcohol. If you think you might be an alcoholic, or if you need help, like please by all means get professional help. I'm not in any way qualified to speak on alcoholism or addiction. But I will just say that alcohol is itself a poison. So that's why we have the reaction we have to alcohol, is because it is poisonous. So it was interesting to me to learn more about alcohol. There's a lot of pro-alcohol propaganda that says like a glass of wine is good for you, and anything that they can come up with to spin a positive spin on alcohol. Like people love news like that because it makes us feel better about drinking. But the truth is there's also a very unhealthy side to alcohol. Even aside from addiction, it's kind of messed up what it does to your body. I also learned that even just one drink a week can really increase your likelihood of possibly getting cancer. Having lost both of my parents to cancer, I'm kind of hyper aware of stuff like that. So that was a big impact for me in choosing not to drink the rest of the year. Also just saving money. It was also really cool to learn we could go out with friends to a bar where everybody else is drinking, and seriously, no one notices what you're doing. Like if you just order a club soda with lime, no one notices. Like we felt really self-conscious at first, like people were gonna think we were like Debbie Downers or something. Nobody notices, nobody cares. People love having a built-in designated driver though. And we just still had, this shouldn't be surprising, but we still had just as much fun as when we were drinking, if not more so, because it's easier to like keep your energy up and not, like I would have one glass of wine and I'd be so tired and like ready for bed. So we really enjoyed going out with friends this past year and just ordering club sodas. And it just, I don't know, it really did open my eyes and change my perspective on alcohol a lot. So that said, I don't know if we're doing dry 2020 as well. We've talked about it a couple times, like Nate and I are kind of in this together at this point, I feel like. So we both feel like we can kind of take it or leave it. I know if we do go back to having a drink here or there, I'm going to be a lot more aware of how it makes me feel. The thing we did is called the alcohol experiment for a reason, because it really is an experiment just to see how you feel with alcohol, how you feel without it, if you feel like moderation, works for you, or if you feel better when you just don't drink it, whatever it might be. So that was like a year-long experiment, and I'm really happy we did it, and it felt really good to just sort of detoxify the alcohol. So not to scare you if you don't want to give up your wine for a year, I totally get that, but I would recommend the 30-day experiment, because obviously you can give it up for 30 days, you can do anything, and you can see how you feel after that. For us, we happened to feel so good that we kept going. So I think that covers some of the biggest changes and elements of my year, and successes and failures. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys. If it gives you any ideas for your own resolutions for 2020, I really can't recommend enough taking this time right now before New Year's as that reflecting pool time, I'd say go somewhere that encourages reflection. For me, I love to go to the beach. Maybe where you live, you can go somewhere pretty and snowy and look out on the beautiful snow. Whatever it might be, it honestly helps a lot to get into nature. I'm obviously not a very outdoorsy type, but I love being in nature. Just sitting on the beach or sitting in a garden or whatever resources or parks you might have. It's very calming and it really helps you get in touch with yourself, where you've been, where you hope to go. And so I recommend reflecting somewhere like that. I definitely recommend journaling. I love it so much. Another thing that can really help is maybe taking some time off of social media, getting off your phone for a couple days. What I personally do is just delete the Instagram app so you don't have any temptation to just log on and check. If you do that, I would say make sure you have a backup plan, because you never realize how autopilot it is to pick up your phone and go on Instagram or Facebook. So if you delete those apps, which I do recommend, take a couple of days, no social media, just kind of clear the mind, have like a plan B. Like whenever I pick up my phone automatically, I'm gonna set it back down and pick up my journal instead, or I'm gonna pick up a book instead. Whatever it might be, it's just really helpful to have a replacement, because otherwise you might just wind up playing like Angry Birds on your phone and that's not really gonna help you clear your head. So taking some time off social media can be great, journaling can be great. Another thing I love doing this year at this time, like I truly look forward to it each year, is this year compass, it's called. It's a completely free resource. I will put the link down below, but I truly look forward to this every single year. And it's just a free printable that they put out of the goodness of their hearts, I guess, because it's such an awesome way to look back on the past year. It has a lot of prompts that will help you reflect, like flip through your calendar and write down things that happened. It helps you kind of realize what you did achieve last year. If you're someone like me that kind of tends to not give yourself credit, it helps you recognize your accomplishments. And it also just helps you reflect, like what do you need to let go of, things like that. And then it helps you look forward, plan ahead, plan out some goals. I just love this. It really walks you through the whole process that I'm talking about right now. I just printed it, so my printer is kind of grumpy about that. But I definitely recommend this free printable. Another thing that's a great activity at the end of the year like this is to make yourself a vision board. So this was mine for 2019. I have an older video on my process for how I do these. I use Photoshop and do it on my computer. If you're not as much of a computer nerd as I am, you can just do it with magazines, scissors, glue stick, print out pictures, you know, just do it by hand. Whatever kind of works for you. I love having this to look at all year as like kind of, I call it like a mood board of sort of how I want to feel and like the vibe that I want to create throughout the year. I love that project. And the other project that I love at this time of year is cleaning house. Going through cleaning, decluttering, organizing. I know spring cleaning is more of a thing, but I feel like New Year's cleaning should also be a thing. It's such a good time. Like you just got some presents maybe. It's a good time to go through and donate what you can and just start the new year with like a little less physical baggage in your space. It really helps me to feel more mental clarity when my space is how I like it. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I have a couple resources for you guys if you want to kind of level up in the new year. I have a lifestyle guide all about beauty and self-care and how you can feel put a little more like care and love into yourself, because you deserve it. And unfortunately, we tend to put ourselves at the bottom of our to-do list. So this is all about ways that you could glow up in the new year if you are so inclined. And then I also have a book all about planning and productivity and time management and all of my hacks for squeezing out every single moment of the day and every single moment of the new year that we all have ahead. So these are both in ebook format. You can read them on your phone or on your iPad or your computer. You can print them out, whatever's easiest. And I just like to share those here and there when I can, because it's a way to support my channel if you would like, but also a way I hope that you can get the absolute most out of the new year that you have ahead, because there's just so much wonderful potential, and I want us all to like seize the day, seize the year, seize 2020 and truly make it your year. So I think that covers everything I try to do at this time of year. I know it could seem like a lot, but it really is such a special time to look back and to look forward and to reflect. So I hope I inspired you a little bit. I hope you get some ideas of what to do or what not to do based on my own experiences in 2019. And I just really wish you the most beautiful, amazing year ahead, because you guys are all so special and you mean so much to me. And I wish you the absolute best for you and yours in the new year. And I can't wait to do many more videos and get to hang out a lot more as well in 2020. So if you feel like it, comment and let me know your resolutions or how you're feeling during this time of year. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. And hit subscribe so that you don't miss anything from me in the new year. And we'll talk then. Bye guys.